Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gradick, your host. We got a very special program this morning. We're on Facebook Live also, so buckle up. Here we go. All right. Definition of genealogy: a line of descent traced continuously from an ancestor, combing through the birth records and genealogies. Our guests this morning are Robert Blakemore, president of the Carroll County Genealogy Society, and past president Don Levans. And this is from their website. This will give you a little background, then we're going to talk about how they go about pulling all of this off. The Carroll County Genealogical Society was founded in 1976 when 12 interested genealogists met at the home of Mary Florence Word to discuss the possibility of organizing a society. Through much hard work and perseverance, through 12 charter members, those 12 charter members multiplied through the years to be a high membership of more than 200. Our members are now scattered across the entire U.S. and still hold to our original objectives, which are to promote, preserve, and make available for genealogical research the records of our ancestors, to encourage and assist members in genealogical research, to promote the exchange of such knowledge with the society and the community, to encourage the deposit of genealogical records in established libraries, and to publish a genealogical quarterly journal. The society holds quarterly meetings on the fourth Thursday at 6 p.m. at Nevis Levenson Library in Carrollton. Our meetings consist of short business session, guest speakers, and a chance at the end of the meeting to talk with other researchers about anything that's on their mind. They've published several books, deed abstracts, census records. We're going to get into all that, county cemetery surveys, an index of Confederate burials in the county, and reprinted 3 books, et cetera, et cetera. And good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good. Well, I'm supposed to say that. Anyway, good to have y'all in. This is kind of exciting. Before we get in kind of the details, not every county is blessed with a genealogical society, are they, Robert?
They're not. We're actually probably one of the abnormalities of Georgia because we are one of the strongest ones.
Yeah.
I think we kind of come in second place to Augusta Genealogical Society as far as the information that we provide and the services that we're able to do.
Before we get into the details, I read that we met at the home of Mary Florence Word. Who was she, or do you know really?
Mary Florence was the originator, the first one, and I knew her. She was active.
What was she like?
A very, very dedicated person. Domineering would be a good word. She pretty much ran the show.
She ran the show?
Yeah.
Well, you always got to have somebody who's going to run the show.
Yeah, and back then everything was on paper and pencil. There's no such thing as a computer.
It wasn't that long ago that everything was paper and pencil. That's and right. Pen and typewriters.
That's right. Books.
And books.
Books. We printed, they wrote, they printed, distributed, and sold historical books.
Well, let's kind of use that as the beginning or the starting point. The several publications according to the website. Now, the website, I'm going to say this multiple times through the course of the program because it's easy to remember, actually. ccgsga.org. ccgsga.org. Can't beat that for a website. But Don mentioned the books. Let's go through the list I found on the website. We've got census books, we got deed book abstracts, we got cemetery books, we got indices, and we got history. So let's start off. Census records. Tell us about that. I mean, these go back all to the 1800s.
Yes, I think the first one we have is 1850, 1860.
50. We got 50.
And 50, okay, yeah, 1850. And this is, I guess, listing all the members of the community of that time. And so if you've got a family here, then you could probably trace them back to that record. And these right here also show the head of household and the children's names and the spouse's name and their ages.
And so even back then, the census, which is constitutionally mandated,
Yeah.
Was obtaining all that information.
Now, 1840, I think, that's the one where they just had the head of household, and then they listed a mark for each age group.
Yeah, and they started adding a little
Yep.
bit as it went along. Like they would just you had the sex of the children.
Yeah.
You would know which ones were male and female, how many they had, and so on.
And now
Not
they
a
want,
lot of information
Yeah.
on those records.
unlike today when they want to
Right.
know how many commodes you got. So anyway, all right, they got deed book abstracts. Explain that.
This is, I think, a work of Mary Florence Word, where she went to the courthouse and recorded all of the transactions from 1826 through 1980. And this is listing there who owned the property, who got it from the land lottery, and then also who they sold it to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess who witnessed it, the attorneys that were involved in that kind of thing. And so it's really, if you're looking for your family, this right here is one of the first places to start.
Yeah, it said on the website that was handled out of Milledgeville, which I guess was the capital.
The capital at the time, yes.
Well, now the deed book search is one of the most fulfilling thing you can do if you're looking for your family in the background. You go to the county seat and get the grantor and grantee books, and that lists as by alphabetical by name. So you find the name that you're searching, and it'll refer you to the deeds that are listed by that person's name. For example, I found in the Carroll County deed books that my great-great-grandfather, which I had never located before, a guy named Jacob Levans, had owned 202 acres out where the county farm is now, where they have all the equipment, where the license office is.
Yeah, tag office.
202 and a half acres there was owned by Jacob Levans. Well, it turned out that my great-grandfather inherited that, so he must have been his father.
And that land was distributed through the lottery originally?
Probably, yeah.
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 That's interesting.
Yeah.
Each land lot, I think, was 202
And a
and
half.
2 acres and a half
Really?
In the state of Georgia.
in the state of Georgia.
And every deed you got now, if you own a quarter acre in Carrollton, it goes back to one of those 202 and a half acres.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the original. Like I live on lot 80,
Uh-huh.
which is up at Center Point.
Yeah. There you
So-
go. Those people from
So
Center
in
Point.
the deed searches now, I've found that that lot was back owned by Wesley Dominic, who was my great grandmother's uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and he had come here after the Civil War
Mm-hmm.
from Alabama and bought 1,900 acres from the Haralson County line to Carrollton.
Mm-hmm.
And I could also find this in the deeds. It's who he bought it from, who he sold it to. And then that when he died, he had no children, he was not married, and he gave that 1,900 acres to my great-grandmother and her sister.
Mm-hmm.
So they eventually sold it all.
I guess what's exciting about that is it's a legal document, so you know it's accurate. There's just not, a relative wrote it down.
But more than just names, you learn what they did.
Yeah.
By getting hold of the deed books.
Yeah.
Now you can you start it by finding that it's there on our website.
Which is ccgsga.org.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say
Let me
it
do
after.
one more.
Okay, sure.
I knew that my grandmother and grandfather had purchased 50 acres in Haralson County. So I got that out of an old book there I found in my granddaddy's house. So I decided to go to Haralson County and look in the deed books. So I found who he bought that 50 acres from. And my father was born in that house. Then he sold it to a fellow named Sims. Well, I married a Sims girl. So lo and behold, her father was also born in that house after my granddaddy sold it to
Wait a
him.
minute. You lost me there.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you that genealogy can be very surprising.
Well, he sold the 50 acres to the Sims family.
Yeah.
And
And
say
he
that
moved
again.
back to Carroll County.
He moved back, okay.
Then they had a boy,
They had a boy.
which was my wife's father.
Well, your wife's father.
Well, and my father were both born in the same house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now then,
And so the two guys that were born in the same house had children
yes,
that got married.
got married.
Wow.
But what I'm trying to
Only
put,
Don Levans
I'm
can
just-
tell you this.
No, this happens in dealing with genealogy.
But it happens pretty, and this to me, this is the important part of this, is the deed books. They
Yes.
have an enormous amount of information, and they're right there in the courthouses.
Yes,
See, I would never thought about that.
I know.
So that's why people listen to Community Voice. They hear this kind of stuff all the time and learn all kinds of things. We'll be going to be back with more with Robert Blakemore, who's president of the Carroll County Genealogy Society, and Don Levans, who's past president. And the website, ccgsga.org.
That's what it says.
The man said
Well,
I'd pass.
Anyway, we'll be back with more after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to Community Voice. This is going to be to me is a really fun program. We've talking about genealogy with Robert Blakemore, president of the Carroll County Genealogy Society, and Don Levans, who's past president of the Carroll County Genealogy Society. Website, ccgsga.org. Easy to remember, so I don't guess I need to keep repeating it. One of the big things that genealogists do is, of course, research. I guess, and you can explain more about this, cemeteries. They're an important part of y'all's work and effort. Tell us, how do y'all approach cemeteries?
I think in 2004, we started a survey of all the cemeteries in Carroll County. And we compiled a list of all their location, and then also listing each of the grave markers and some of the inscriptions and things, and also published 2 books for that information, listing all of the grave sites in Carroll County up until 2006. And so if you've got ancestors buried here, they're probably going to find their name in that book.
What y'all are just telling me is there are a lot of resources. I mean,
Lots.
and we've got, in Carroll County, unlike most counties, we've got a website and a society that's doing this.
Well, you can get it 2 ways. You can go to the library and go into what they call it now, the history room.
The local history room, yes.
Local history room, and the books are there. You can lay them on a table and look up the index and
a lot of times with the
search.
cemeteries, what we're finding is back in that particular time is the families went to the same church.
Right.
So if you can find where mom and dad were buried, you're probably going to find where the children are buried as well.
But cemeteries in Carroll County, how would you describe them? There it seems to be everywhere.
Yes, actually, there's one, the Boyles Cemetery. It's on Burwell Road, and it's just right there on the side of the road. They've got a fence around it, a little chain link fence around
I've
it,
seen
and
it.
it's just right there on the side of the road.
Yeah, and so you got a lot of family plots.
Yes,
And
family
then
plots.
And then I think it's Salem Church, also in the Bowden area, where the church burned down, and there's a cemetery still there.
That's Shiloh.
Shiloh.
Smith's Chapel. Smith's
I'm
Chapel.
sorry, Smith's Chapel.
Smith's Chapel is one
Yeah,
of our-
that's fascinating.
And they have
place.
a cemetery there still.
Yeah, but
and
the
a lot
church
of
is
primitive
gone.
Baptist churches have cemeteries.
Now, see, a genealogist thinks you got to go to them dang cemeteries and you got to read them stones. Number one, when you get there,
You
it's going
can't
to be
read 'em.
so black you can't read it.
Yeah, which is
So
sad.
you got to become a professional in knowing how to clean it so you can read it. Or you just go look at our cemetery book, and every grave in that cemetery, what's wrote on it is copied on our cemetery book
Well,
page.
now there's some, and we'll talk about Civil War, but I think it's Hillcrest Cemetery. It's got some people or burials from like the 1500s. I don't know if you know that, but it's really remarkable that.
Well, Old Concord out here off of 113 is the same way, but
Really?
oh yeah, we've let it grow up completely, and now you can't even walk into
Isn't that
these
awful?
cemeteries. Yeah,
I mean, you know.
no, all history. There's Old Concord and New Concord, and New Concord's 112 years old. So.
Yes.
Anyway, we've got a lot of people watching on Facebook Live. That's kind of neat.
I guess one of the neat things about the cemetery books is that you can find the date of birth and date of death. The challenge really comes in trying to color in the life between those two dates.
The dash.
And who were these people?
Yeah.
What were their hobbies? What were their lives? What were their job? What did they do for a living? And I guess in the local history room, we've also collected over 275 family history books where people have donated their family history books to the library. And so they're there. So if you've got family, some of them, I guess those treasured names, we probably have some information about them that probably tracks them back to their coming into Carroll County.
But listen,
I'm listening.
there's something that you add to this. The Dash, born in 1932, Dash died in 1812, whatever. The Dash
That
is what
don't
you're
work that
looking
way,
for.
but go ahead.
And you know where the Dash can be found?
No,
In obituaries.
really.
And we have, on our website, you can get and read
76,000 obituaries.
76,000
from 1872.
obituaries of Carroll County people. So you can go.
Can you access them on the website?
You can
Yes.
access it. Now you may have to pay for that.
We
I'm
have
not
to. You
sure.
can, if as a member, you get free access to all the websites to that information, and also you can get a trial. I guess a temporary membership for the obituary search for 30 days.
Now that comes on the category of indices, correct?
The indexes that you're referring is the indexes of all the quarterlies. The quarterlies that we publish 4 every year. And we've got probably accumulation of 169,000 names that are in that index. And they are alphabetized so that you can search and find your family's name in that.
Alphabetically search and find what quarterly, what page your ancestor is listed on.
Now you've also got marriage indices, right?
Yes.
So how's that work?
The marriage books, that's probably our most used research book at the library.
Yeah.
Is, I guess, because it lists from 1826 through 1980. It lists all of if you got married in Carroll County, you're in that book.
Really?
Yes.
Now, if I understand this correctly, more Carroll County soldiers died in the war between the states than all the other wars combined.
Yes, sir, 195.
And so, from what I read off the website, in 1910, the veterans of the McDaniel Curtis camp of Annie Wheeler United Daughters Confederacy helped compile. So we know, and they're scattered about in Carroll County,
Yes, sir.
where these veterans are, correct?
Yes, sir. And we put a Confederate flag on there'll be over 600 of them total, of Confederate veterans that we know are buried in Carroll County. And every April used to be Confederate History Month. Of course, wokenism has taken all of that away. But we still put a Confederate flag on every one of those graves. Not a Confederate flag, a battle flag.
Right.
A battle flag on those graves every April.
What about other veterans that are buried throughout the cemeteries?
They're not identified.
They're not identified?
No.
But now their marker, their gravestone, footstone, you could do that.
Yeah, you'll find, I think almost all veterans' markers are identified as what war.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but
you've
that's
also
that's a thing they decide to do. It's not mandatory.
And I was real neat. I was telling y'all before the program, y'all have also got a World War One vet index. And on my grandfather, McGarrity's footstone, he's a cook in World War One U.S. Army. And so I pulled him up last night, and I've got where he enlisted at Fort McPherson on July 26th of 1917.
You got that right off our website.
I got that off there. I'm looking right at it. I mean, it's really just, I don't know. Yeah, it's
well, let me tell you another
it's
thing about
almost surreal.
veterans in our park. Right on the index of our website, when you go to it, there's a veterans discharge search that we went to the courthouse and listed all of the discharge records that are filed at the courthouse. They call it a DD-214 discharge paper.
Yeah.
Those are filed at the courthouse. You can go to our website and determine if your relative has one filed over there. Anybody searching for those records.
What about for a Don Levans or whatever? I mean, he's got these deep roots, throughout Carroll County, West Georgia. But what if you moved in here, or you don't have that kind of extensive genealogical history?
Well, your relatives are somewhere else.
Well, they're mainly in Paulding County.
I guess when we moved here in Carroll County in '72, I kind of made a joke that people could talk about me because I wasn't related to anybody. But then the more I started digging, I found out that I'm actually related to some of the Mann family and the Jackson family. Things like that. Actually, I'm related to more people than I realized I actually were.
Yeah. It's funny how that works.
Well, every generation it doubles.
Yeah.
And after a while, the tree spread gets 8 foot wide.
Well, I think that's an important point.
Yes, it is.
I think that's an important point. We were talking about, again before the program, about the Mayflower, and 30 million people can legitimately claim ancestry to the, I think it was a couple hundred people that were traversed over on the Mayflower. Okay, we've got a lot more we want to talk about, and we're going to run out of time, so let's get with it. Let's take a break. We'll be back more with Robert and Don after this.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gredick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. We got a rip-roaring show going on right now. I tell you what, we're about ready to rip it up even more. We were talking about cemeteries, and in recent times we've done a story about potential slave cemetery over at UWG, which is formerly State University of West Georgia, formerly West Georgia College. Amen. But anyway, that's where you hung out.
That's where I hung out.
But now they're not any knowledge or recognized slave cemeteries in Carroll County. Yeah, and they're really just only just a handful of plantations during that time.
I did some research on that. There was 3 in West Georgia, and they were small. The black people that came here came from a way off south, from plantations, I'm sure, in the south and east of us. In here, and after the Civil War, the only livelihood, it looks to me like, looking back, was sharecropping. And I know there's a lot of bad stuff about sharecropping, but it was the only place that I personally see that they could work.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned my great uncle having 1,900 acres. That was broken up into 50-acre plots, and a house was put on each one, and a couple of mules, and a wagon, and a turning plow, and they grew cotton on halves from that.
Okay, for the sake of time, let me go back to the homepage of the website, and then y'all can take us home with this. Membership runs from January through December and is open to anyone interested in genealogy. Annual fees are $25, and this includes the Carroll County Genealogical Quarterly. The quarterly issued in March, June, September, and December contains many abstracted county records, ancestor charts of members, queries from members, and is fully indexed. So y'all, it says here y'all got more than 200 members.
That was, I think, we're probably at about 125 now.
Okay, 125 now. So you're looking for members, and
well, I mean, always looking for members, and I guess part of what we're doing, as much as the research, is teaching people the skill of doing their research and how to put that information together in a usable format so that they can find it and their family can find it later.
Well, how does the Neil Olmsson Library fit into all of that?
When we started, I guess 1976, we started buying books, buying equipment, and we donated that to the library there for people to do their research. And we have a section on Carroll County history, Haralson County history, Heard County history, and just accumulating books throughout the years. Probably one of the biggest research things that we have is the yearbooks. A lot of people come in to use the yearbooks to find out, I guess, who graduated and those pictures of the people back in that time. And one of the unique things, too, is the city directories that we've accumulated from 1939. The thing, I guess, that we were a major migratory path. People coming from North Carolina, South Carolina, through Carroll County on their way to Texas. They may stay here a couple of years or so and leave. But the problem comes in is that they don't show up in the census because they came in 1852 and then left in 1859. So they don't show up on any of the census. But the thing that they do show up is in the city directories, and they had to pay taxes. So they show up in the tax digest. So a lot of this information has been abstracted and included in the quarterlies. And we've published, I think, 156 quarterly journals since our beginning with over 7,800 pages of genealogical information for Carroll County. And I believe we estimated about 175,000 surnames are in that index, so that people can, if they were in Carroll County, they're probably going to be in one of our quarterlies. And also the marriage records and things too.
Now this quarterly thing is the biggest gold mine in genealogy in the world. We publish 4 quarterlies a year since 1976, or probably even before that.
Boy, you're involved in everything, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, let's don't get into that.
Well, we got to go.
Listen,
yes.
that it's full of information. And the index for each one is alphabetized. You can check it, and it'll tell you look who. If you're looking for Levans, you look through the index, go to L, and if there's a Levans there, Jacob Levans, it'll say quarterly so and so, and the page it's on. You go open that quarterly. You can do this sitting at home on your own.
Good.
Computer.
Website, ccgsga.org. Our gratitude to Robert Blakemore and Don Levans for their fine work with the Carroll County Genealogical Society. And with that, Carpe Diem, you're in tune to WLBB Carrollton.